We expect, don't we, Deputy Carol McNeill, that might raise its head on leaders' questions today. I mean, can I put you on the spot and ask you which measure you were particularly happy or proud of yesterday, and if there was one that maybe you were a little bit disappointed about that you would like to have delivered more on?
For me, the thing that I was proud of was the change to the means test for the carers allowance. That's something I'd been working on with Minister Heather Humphreys all year, and it was about bringing in more people who are currently caring for their families, for their loved ones, but are not receiving supports from the states, bringing them into the carers allowance. So we've made the first big change in 10 years where we've increased the capital disregard from €20,000 of savings or assets up to €50,000, as well as increasing the weekly limits. That's going to bring thousands of more families into the carers allowance system, and that's something that's really important to me. I'd like to see more done. We're only beginning, the work on childcare. We've had such a changed position on that as people are moving back maybe to more flexible options for work. Their needs are different, their requirements are different, they want to be closer to home. They're going to need more flexibility from childcare providers, and I think there's a substantial package yesterday, as you've said, but I think we're going to need to do more to respond to the flexibility needs of parents as well as the cost needs.
This word solidarity, it appeared quite a few times, Deputy, in the two budget speeches, but we didn't hear anything about raising taxes on high earners, on even measures like capital gains or capital acquisitions. I mean, was that a missed opportunity to really, put your money where your mouth was in terms of solidarity?
But this is an important solidarity and stability budget. We've just spent €48 billion on the COVID pandemic, which have all been solidarity measures, support for individuals, support for businesses. We need to transition that now into a sustainable public finances and a sustainable economic recovery. That means more jobs. That means protecting jobs. That means attracting jobs. So taxes on employment, such as Sinn Féin's attempt to tax employers' PRSI, or taxes on competitiveness, such as trying to tax people who are bringing jobs to this country, or indeed tax hospital consultants that we want to bring back to this country. That's not what we need now. We need this economy to stabilise and to grow. The most important thing in any household is a job. The dignity of a job, the income of a job, the stability of a job, not just for the individual but for the whole family. And that's what this economy and this economic recovery is about. Those are the things that we need to protect. So we have spent the money that we can. We need to restore the public finances. That's what enabled us to borrow in the way that we could. We have until 2025 to get that in order, because that's the point at which we have to refinance our debt. If we're exposed to very high interest rates at that point because the international markets are suspicious of our ability to restore our public finances, then every person in this country and future generations are going to be paying the price and the additional cost of that. So this is an important transition and stability budget, and I think we've got to see it as that.
Is that dispiriting, I have to ask, Deputy? What's the vibe around Leinster House? When you look at the polls and you're not getting that bounce that you might have expected, that you might get at any other time during an election cycle, does it appear to you that, look, the mood is just for one of change?
Governments aren't here to be thanked. Politicians aren't here to be thanked. We're here to do a job of public service in good times and in bad times. We're here to do that job with responsibility and to make hard decisions, not populist decisions. Our responsibility as a government and as politicians working in the government is to deliver the steps that we need to put things back on a sustainable footing. Nobody will thank us 5 or 10 years later if we blow the budget and we put ourselves back into the same 2007, 2008 situation where we had utterly unsustainable public finances. Nobody's going to thank us for failing to get things back in order to enable us to borrow if and when we need to. Ireland is a small open economy susceptible to external shocks. We know that. So the job here is to do the job properly with responsibility for the state. And whether or not we're thanked is not important.
The job, presumably also, Deputy, is to get re-elected.
And I work every single day for my constituents in Dún Laoghaire to try to do that. I hope that they might re-elect me. But most important, when I look at my term at the end of that, I'll ask myself, what did I do for my constituents? What did I do in terms of government? And yesterday, because of my work with Heather Humphreys, we were able to deliver a package to bring more people, working people, into carers allowance. And that's something I'll be really proud of, whether or not I'm thanked.
Did you miss a trick, Deputy, on this one?
I think what the government tried to do was provide supports to everybody in the housing market, including people who are looking who are renting and want to buy. And I mean, the big piece there is Help to Buy scheme, which supported 28,000 people to get a deposit to buy a home. The opposition or Sinn Féin are opposed to that. We're trying to support everybody in the economy through this stability transition budget, and part of the way of doing that is the indexation on tax relief.
But do you accept that the optics do not look good when Mary Lou McDonald stands up in the Dáil and says nothing for renters but tax breaks for landlords? It doesn't matter what way you come back and answer that. You're on the back foot, are you not?
Well, I look at the Sinn Féin budget in relation to rent and I see how they've undercosted their proposals. I look at the same thing and how they've missed nearly 700 million euros in relation to undercosting childcare. I look at all of these things, how they say that they're going to build houses in Dublin for 150 grand, where, you know, the figures back to Ona Bryn from the Department of Housing show that it's clearly 240,000. I look at these series of undercosts and I listen to the rhetoric from Sinn Féin and I hear nothing about the grown-up business of doing government, of actually costing things, spending things, delivering things. The Sinn Féin budget has just put forward just magic money. There's nothing there that's sustainable. There's no focus on employment. This is a budget about supporting the economy in the round from COVID into a sustainable economic recovery. And the government has tried to reach forward to everybody who has suffered through the pandemic and make things a little bit easier for them.
Really, really powerful and emotive issue raised by Alan Kelly today, Deputy, the plight of young 10-year-old Adam Terry from Cork. No one is coming to find me in the lost and found. He said he's one of, I think, 172 children awaiting scoliosis surgery. Absolutely heartbreaking and bizarre in the context of a budget where we're ploughing, is it 22 billion euro into the health system? How does this happen?
Absolutely heartbreaking and completely inexcusable. Because of my personal very deep experience of the paediatric hospital system, Crumlin, Great Ormond Street, all of them. Earlier this year I met with families from all over Ireland with children with long-term severe illnesses, some of whom were waiting very considerable periods for interventions and surgeries that needed to happen earlier. I've raised some of those in the Dáil. Early intervention is essential. You can turn up in Crumlin with septic arthritis in your elbow and be seen straight away because it's an urgent intervention.
So what's going on then, Deputy? Why aren't these children being seen?
Well, precisely. And what is going on with hospital management, that a child that needs a surgery for a urethra being moved before the age of 2 isn't getting it? We prioritise earlier intervention when it comes to special needs. We prioritise it in schools. The physical surgeries that children need are core to their physical and social and emotional development in every possible way, and there is simply no excuse. Now I hear what the Taoiseach is saying in relation to prioritising elective surgeries and not having that interfered with by trauma surgeries. That's so important, but the administration of hospitals and making sure these surgeries are prioritised beyond all else, where they're so core to children's development, is absolutely essential.